I could see Clarence Thomas visibly frustrated, not really saying much, but, sort of rolling his eyes, tucking himself back in the chair.
It's time for George the Greek, live from the Supreme Court. So you were just there in the Supreme Court. Is there anything that you noticed specifically, that a major update for us?
Yes. So I was right up front. It was a great vantage point, and I got to see things that you really couldn't understand in audio. So broadly speaking, the conservative judges were kind of, questioning the government a lot, and vice versa with the liberal judges. But, I could see Clarence Thomas visibly frustrated. He's kind of stoic, doesn't really say much. But in the court, I could see him visibly frustrated at some of the answers the government was giving as to how they justify their actions. Not really saying much, but, sort of rolling his eyes, tucking himself back in the chair. Alito, definitely the most hostile of all the judges, questioning not only the government's motives, but their methods, which I thought was helpful. On the flip side, Missouri got a lot of heat from the liberal judges. And, unfortunately, I think the Missouri lawyers kind of dropped the ball when the comparisons between newspapers and social media platforms came up. I think they had a good opportunity there to delineate the difference between the two. Newspapers being publishers and having the right, to sort of pick and choose versus social media platforms. I think that the discussion there got a little muddled. Overall, I feel like it's probably going to be some kind of a split decision. And the real question is, not really if Biden, violated. There is a violation there. I think it's going to be how broad their ruling is. Do they limit it specifically to the injunction at hand, or do they take a very broad ruling here and outline more terms? I think that's very TBD at this point.
Yeah, it seems like it could be. Did you notice anything as far as, when we were talking, for example, about the algorithmic censorship? You helped us introduce terms here that they may not even be familiar with. Was that something that they asked about or they followed up on?
So I left a little bit early, so they may still do that. Nothing directly on that point. They did generally speak about some of the methods used by social media platforms, but really the conversation focused on the intent. What was the subject matter at hand, and did it rise to a level of violating the First Amendment and even provisions of Section 230? Again, those social media platforms were not a party to this case. It was really the federal government at issue. But algorithmic censorship, not really a topic of conversation as much as I would have liked it to be. It was more about the nature of the content and whether there was good faith involved.
Well, yeah, and that's important to note because a lot of people don't know. We are already at that point. The federal government is involved. We're not just discussing YouTube at this point or Facebook. This is where it is. There's no doubt. There's no argument as to the fact that this had taken place. It's just, okay, to what degree? It's the severity of the outcome. I believe that Gerald Morgan had a question.
Yeah, just a quick question, George. So on a couple of the justices that we said we were going to keep an eye on, you said Roberts a lot of times likes to go the opposite direction maybe of the majority just to make it look like more of an even split of the court. For him and maybe Justice Kavanaugh, did you see anything that gives you any indication on what they're thinking?
Yes, actually, I would say that that's an apt characterization of Justice Roberts in this case. Sort of middle of the road. And if anything, I think a little bit deferential to the government, especially in cases of what we would call an emergency and their ability to communicate quickly with, say, social media platforms. And this is part of the discussion that I wish the respondents brought back to, which is, you have those hypotheticals, but in this case, we were talking about memes. We were talking about the First Lady of the United States.
It's an emergency
meme. You know what I mean? It really was an opportunity there to bring those things back, and I think more of that discussion should have come in. Because we're really not talking about a national emergency exclusively here. We're talking about the government overreaching on things they have no business overreaching on and way outside the bounds of Section 230.
Right. Well, we have to broom you right now, George Greek, because we have Representative Jim Jordan on. Not that he's more important, but, we see you every day. So we'll check back in with you in a little bit. This has been George the Greek. Good work from him.
Watch Slider with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.